Good evening, everyone present in this online platform. I, Vaishali Negi, on behalf of the Capacity Building Center, Cotton University, would like to greet and welcome you all to the 16th session of a year-long 100 hours lecture series on psychological health and perfection of personality in the light of the teaching of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Now, I would like to request the facilitator and the key resource person, Sri Diganta Biswa Sarma sir, to commence the session and enlighten us through his valuable wording. Sir?
Thank you. So we have almost completed the introductory ideas of Western psychology, and as stated already, from today onwards, I shall be taking up subject matters belonging to Indian psychology, topics relating to Indian psychology through the lens of Sri Aurobindo. So first, let us explain the fundamental limitation of modern psychology as explained by Sri Aurobindo. He has already spoken about 4 errors of modern psychology, and we have already discussed 4 errors of psychology, of modern psychology. One is materialistic error, then another one is skeptical error, third one is the error of conservative distrust and recoil, and the error of objectivity. Now he has spoken about fundamental limitation of modern psychology. মৌলিক যিটো তাৰ সীমাবদ্ধতা আধুনিক মনস্তত্বৰ, আৰু আধুনিক মনস্তত্ব বুলি ক'লে আমি সাধাৰণতে পাশ্চাত্যৰ মনস্তত্বক বুজি পাওঁ। এই পাশ্চাত্যৰ মনস্তত্বৰ, আধুনিক মনস্তত্বৰ যিটো প্ৰধান সীমাবদ্ধতা, মৌলিক সীমাবদ্ধতা, মুখ্য সীমাবদ্ধতাটো হৈছে they are trying to describe the whole of a vast and complex reality. They are trying to explain the whole of a vast and complex reality. The human being is a vast reality as well as it's a complex reality. But they are trying to explain the whole of a vast and complex reality in terms of a minuscule part. অতি ক্ষুদ্ৰ অংশ কিছুমান তেওঁলোকে জানিছে, আৰু এই অংশবিলাকৰ দ্বাৰা তেওঁলোকে সম্পূৰ্ণ হোলটো ব্যাখ্যা কৰিবলৈ যত্ন কৰিছে। Through the minuscule part, they are trying to describe the whole of a vast and complex reality. এটা আখ্যান আছে যে এজন অন্ধ মানুহে এবাৰ হাতী এটাৰ বিষয়ে বৰ্ণনা দিছিল। কেনেকৈ বৰ্ণনা দিছিল? এবাৰ ব্যক্তিজনে হাতীটোৰ কাণখন স্পৰ্শ কৰিছে, আৰু কাণখন স্পৰ্শ কৰি তেওঁ হাতীটোৰ বিষয়ে এটা ধাৰণা দিছে। এবাৰ হয়তো সুৰডাল স্পৰ্শ কৰিছে, আকৌ সুৰডাল স্পৰ্শ কৰাৰ পিছত হাতীটোৰ বিষয়ে আন এটা ধৰণে তেওঁ ব্যাখ্যা কৰিছে, বৰ্ণনা দিছে। ঠিক আমাৰ আধুনিক মনস্তত্বও ঠিক সেই ধৰণে ক্ষুদ্ৰ ক্ষুদ্ৰ অংশ কিছুমান লৈ সমগ্ৰক ব্যাখ্যা কৰিবলৈ যত্ন কৰিছে। আৰু সেইবাবে মহাৰিষিৰ যিটো কৈছে যে তাৰ প্ৰধান লিমিটেশনটো কি কৈছে? ডেছক্ৰাইবিং দি হোল অফ এ ভাষ্ট এণ্ড কমপ্লেক্স ৰিয়েলিটি ইন টাৰ্মছ অফ এ মিনাস্কুল পাৰ্ট। আৰু এইটো কৈছে যে এটা মেটাফৰৰ লগত আমি তুলনা কৰিব পাৰো। দালাল হেজ স্পোকেন very much like the groping blind man of the well-known parable, who, having each grasped a particular part of an elephant, depicted the whole element in terms of the particular part of the elephant's body, which he happened to grasp and palpate. So Sri Aurobindo has pointed out this error on more than one occasion. He has spoken about these errors on more than one occasion. We have already discussed four errors spoken of by Sri Aurobindo. 4 errors of modern psychology: materialistic error, skeptical error, the error of conservative distrust, and recoil and the error of objectivity. And hence Sri Aurobindo says, let me quote, Sri Aurobindo says, you must know the whole before you can know the part. যদি আমি এটা বস্তুৰ অংশ জানিবলৈ বিচাৰিছো তেনেহলে প্ৰথমতে তাৰ আমি সমগ্ৰটো জানিব লাগিব কিন্তু পাশ্চাত্যৰ যিকোনো ধাৰণাই পাশ্চাত্যৰ almost all theories whether belonging to science or humanities তেওঁলোকে এটা এটা অংশৰ দ্বাৰা সমগ্ৰক ব্যাখ্যা কৰিবলৈ প্ৰয়াস কৰে কিন্তু শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দই কৈছে you must know the whole before before you can know the part. If you want to know the part, you have to know the whole first. And finds elucidation in his description of the various parts of the being given below. Various parts of the being given below. 4 parts we shall be discussing. So first let us recap what we have focused right now, that the fundamental limitation of modern psychology in delineating the nature of unconscious. They have described unconscious and which stems from the mistake of describing the whole. The consciousness is a vast and complex reality. And they have tried to describe the concept of unconscious as conceived by themselves in terms of a minuscule part according to Sri Aurobindo. And Sri Aurobindo has pointed towards these errors of modern psychology on more than one occasion. We have already discussed. Then broadly speaking, Sri Aurobindo distinguishes 4 elements which make up the totality of man's being. So man is composed of 4 elements basically. 4 elements. You can, sometimes it is said as 3 elements, sometimes 4, and sometimes even 5. But it is a way of describing. Altogether, we will be speaking about 5 elements. And what are those 4 elements which make up the totality of man's being? Today I shall only be mentioning, and later on I shall be progressively dealing with all this aspect. So the first one is the surface or outer being. But what is outer being? It will be discussed in due course of our lecture session. So out of 4 elements, first element is surface or outer being. Surface or outer being. Unlike Freud's division of mental apparatus into only three parts: id, ego, and superego. Sri Aurobindo has spoken about 4 elements which make up the totality of man's being. First one is surface or outer being. Then the second is the subconscient. At this point of time, I will only tell one thing about subconscient. Subconscient lies below the surface consciousness, below the outer being. And in proper time, it will be explained. Subconscient. In Indian language, you can call it অবচেতন. এটা হল আমার বাহ্য সত্তা আর দ্বিতীয়টো হল অবচেতন। অবচেতন ক'ত বিৰাজ কৰে? আমাৰ বাহ্য চেতনাৰ তলত। ইয়াত কিন্তু গোটেইকেইটা শব্দৰ মহত্ব আছে। তলত, ওপৰত, অন্তৰালত গোটেইকেইটা। এটা হল বিলো, এটা হল বিহাইণ্ড, এটা হল এবভ। গতিকে 3টা শব্দ বেলেগ বেলেগ অঞ্চলৰ কথা কৈছে। এবভ, below, and behind. So subconscient is below the surface consciousness, below the outer being. আমি 2টা approach আলোচনা কৰিম পিছত. One is called vertical vertical, and one is called concentric. We shall be taking up in due course of time. And the third one is subliminal. Subliminal, you can call in Indian terminology odhiseton. And somebody speaks subliminal as magna chaitanya, odhiseton, or inner consciousness, antar cetana, you can call it like that also. And subliminal lies behind the outer being, behind the outer being, behind the outer being. And the third and the last one is superconscient, otiseton. Otiseton, superconscient stands above the outer being, stands above. One is below, one is above, one is behind. And the fourth one is outer being. This is our surface consciousness. But what are the elements of outer being? What are the elements of subliminal? What are the elements of subconscient? What are the elements, what is the description of superconscient? It will be taken up in due course of time. So these four elements, one fundamental limitations of the modern psychology, along with four errors spoken of by Sri Aurobindo with regard. Now I am speaking about four elements which make up the totality of man's being. Four elements: surface or outer being, then subconscient, then subliminal, then superconscient. Below, above, behind. And the one is outer being, surface consciousness. But আমি যদি শ্রী অরবিন্দৰ এই কথাবোৰ জানিবলৈ লাগিলে আমি তিনিটা, অকল ইয়াত দালালে তিনিটাৰ কথা কৈছে, মই কওঁ তিনিটাতকৈও আৰু কেইটামান বেসিক ফান্ডামেন্টাল তত্ত্ব আমি জানিব লাগিব। কেইটামান তত্ত্ব বিষয়ে যদি আমাৰ ধাৰণা, যিকোনো শ্রী অরবিন্দই কোৱা কথা, অকল শ্রী অরবিন্দই কোৱা কথা নহয়, ভাৰতীয় যিকোনো তত্ত্ব, দৰ্শন, আধ্যাত্মিকতা, সাহিত্য, সমাজ, anything relating to Indian knowledge system, তিনি চাৰিটা ফান্ডামেন্টাল কথা আছে। সেই কেইটা কথা আমি ফাৰ্স্ট জানিব লাগিব। সেই কথা কেইটা যদি নাজানো, আমি ভাৰতীয় সংস্কৃতি, ভাৰতীয় আধ্যাত্মিকতা, ভাৰতীয় মনস্তত্ত্ব, আমি একোৰ বিষয়ে জ্ঞান লাভ কৰিব নোৱাৰো। These are fundamental concept. These are actually not concept. According to Indian, these are truths experienced by themselves, experienced by them. These are not thesis, mental thesis. These are not conceiving. These are not concept. But these are truth experienced by them. Experienced by them. So in order to understand the nature of this fourfold constitution of the being, fourfold constitution of the being just discussed, surface or outer being, subconscient, subliminal, and the superconscient. In order to understand the nature of this fourfold constitution of the being, certain fundamental views of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy need to be grasped. Certain fundamental ideas of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy need to be grasped. Certain, not all, fundamental, very fundamental ideas or views. Number one, but before that, who is man? What is the concept of human being according to Western concept? I'm not speaking about their religious concept. The sociological point of view, scientific point of view, philosophical point of view. The concept on man, manu সম্পর্কে ধাৰণা, মানুহ কোন, আৰু ভাৰতবৰ্ষই মানুহৰ বিষয়ে কি কৈছে। This is one of the fundamental thing. পাশ্চাত্যই মোটামুটি, মই পাশ্চাত্য ৰিলিজিয়াছ মই ধাৰণাৰ বিষয়ে ক'বলৈ যোৱা নাই। পাশ্চাত্যই আমি যদি মহাৰিষিৰ মই উদ্ধৃতিৰে কৈছো, মহাৰিষিয়ে কৈছে the European idea is the conception of a force that manifests itself in the material universe. Which এই পাৰ্থিৱ পৃথিৱীত এটা ফোর্স, এটা শক্তি অভিব্যক্ত হৈছে, এটা শক্তি অভিব্যক্ত হৈছে কোৰ পৰা শক্তি অভিব্যক্ত হৈছে কোট তাৰ উৎস কি তাৰ ৰহস্য কি তাৰ তাৎপৰ্য they are not bothered about আৰু এটা তেওঁলোকে কি দেখা পাইছে a life in it এটা জীবন দেখা পাইছে এটা প্ৰাণ দেখা পাইছে যে এটা প্ৰাণ নামৰ তত্ত্ব এটা প্ৰাণ লাইফ এই পাৰ্থিৱ মেটেৰিয়েলিষ্টিক ইউনিভাৰ্সৰ মাজত অভিব্যক্ত হোৱা তেওঁলোকে দেখিবলৈ পাইছে which the European idea is the conception of a force that manifests itself in the material universe and the life in it of which man is almost the only discoverable meaning কৈছে মানুহৰ বাহিৰে আৰু এই প্ৰাণ তত্ত্বৰ বিষয়ে আমি কতো তেনেকুৱা অৰ্থ বিচাৰি নাপাওঁ যেটো তেওঁলোকে অভিব্যক্ত হোৱা দেখিবলৈ পাইছে লাইফ they have seen that life is manifested here in this material universe আৰু এই লাইফৰ তেওঁলোকে কোট অলপ মিনিং বিচাৰি পাইছে জন্তুৰ মাজত অৰ্থ বিচাৰি পোৱা নাই প্লেন্টৰ মাজতো তাৰ অৰ্থ বিচাৰি পোৱা নাই তেওঁলোকে অকল মানুহৰ মাজত তাৰ অলপ অৰ্থ বিচাৰি পাইছে গতিকে বেসিক তেওঁলোকৰ ধাৰণা এইটো কিন্তু ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ ধাৰণা সেইটো নহয় ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ ধাৰণা কি আমি আলোচনা কৰিম কিন্তু এইটো এটা মই প্ৰথমতে আপোনালোকক কৈ লৈছো যে মানুহ সম্পৰ্কে আৰু জগত সম্পৰ্কে জগত কি ধৰণে সৃষ্টি হৈছে জগত কি ধৰণে ইয়াত অভিব্যক্ত হৈছে সাইন্টিফিক ওয়াৰ্ল্ড প্ৰসেছৰ লগত জড়িত কেনেকে আহিল কিয় আহিল কোৰ পৰা আহিল মই সেই বিষয়ে মই ভৱিষ্যতে মই মহাৰিষিৰ মই কোট ইয়াত দিম মই পিছত মই ভৱিষ্যতে আলোচনা কৰিম কৈছে যে প্ৰথম যেটো কনসেপশন এ man's being man is not separated from the world being this is the fundamental idea not only of Sri Aurobindo it is the India's idea the first man's being is part of the being of the universe দুটা শব্দ মাইক্রোকজম এন্ড ম্যাক্রোকজম এই বিশ্ব ব্রহ্মাণ্ড হল ম্যাক্রোকজম I am the mini universe you are the mini universe essentially we are same এই মূল তত্ত্বটো জানিব লাগিব when we will be explaining human psychology human components the elements which is making up totality of man's being that man's being is part only man's being is part of the being of the universe man being a microcosm means ক্ষুদ্র জগত মই ক্ষুদ্র ব্রহ্মাণ্ড আৰু ম্যাক্রোকজম মানে হল যেটো আমি ব্রহ্মাণ্ড আৰু মানুহ কি এটা ক্ষুদ্র ব্রহ্মাণ্ড ক্ষুদ্র জগত পৃথিৱীত যি শক্তি আছে নেচাৰৰ মাজত সমস্ত শক্তিৰ ময়ু ভাণ্ডাৰ and there is a connection between because first man's being is part of the being of the universe man being a microcosm of the macrocosm গতিকে দুটা শব্দ মাইক্রোকজম MICROCOSM microcosm is the part of the macrocosm ম্যাক্রোকজম হল সমগ্র বিশ্ব ব্রহ্মাণ্ড মাইক্রোকজম হল ক্ষুদ্র ব্রহ্মাণ্ড therefore the psychological nature of man is intimately related not ordinarily related but it is intimately related to the metaphysical nature of the universe and what is the meaning of metaphysical nature of universe what is the meaning of metaphysical nature of universe let me explain অৰ্থাৎ জগতৰ আমি যিবোৰ তত্ত্ব মানে প্ৰথমতে মই ইয়াত এতিয়া নাপাম মেটাফিজিক্যাল অৰ্থটো ঠিক এই ধৰণে কৈছে যিবোৰ আমি নট অবজেক্টিভ ৰিয়েলিটি কিন্তু তাৰ যিটো তাত্ত্বিক এনেইটো মেটাফিজিক্যাল বুলি ক'লে যিটো নিগুৰ ৰহস্য যিটো তাৰ মিষ্টিক যিটো ৰহস্য তাক মেটাফিজিক্যাল বুলি কোৱা হৈছে সমগ্ৰ জগতখনৰ কৈছে যে therefore the psychological nature of man is intimately related to the metaphysical nature of the universe not relating to the physical process physical nature but the metaphysical nature. This is the first view to be noted. The second one is what is then universe? First we have spoken about man. Who is man? Man is microcosm. And what is universe? Universe is macrocosm. Both are intimately related. We are not separated from the world. And that is why Ved says, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Amritasya Putra. Vivekananda says, truth is my God, universe my country. Universe my country. And then what is the universe? What is universe? What is this creation? What is this creation? Another fundamental basic concept of Indian spirituality or Indian philosophy. This material world has not been created by somebody. It is not creation. It is a becoming. It is a manifestation. It is a self-expression. It has not been created. There is a being and being is becoming. Being is becoming. Bharatiya শব্দত কয় সত্তা আৰু সম্ভূতি. The jagat is সম্ভূতি. Jagat is সম্ভূতি. Kar সম্ভূতি কৈছে all the universe is a manifestation of consciousness. So consciousness is a vast and complex reality. Vast and complex reality. Which Western psychologists have briefed, have summarized as unconscious and only conscious, collective unconscious, personal unconscious. But there is actually nothing like unconscious. That will be taken up. So all the universe is a manifestation of consciousness. Chetonar obhibekti, Chetonar atmaprakash. Consciousness has become this universe. Consciousness has become this universe. How? It will be explained progressively. So this is the second idea. First, we have spoken about who is man. Man is part of the universe, universal being. Man is microcosm and microcosm is part of the macrocosm. And what is that macrocosm? Macrocosm is the manifestation. Manifestation of what? Manifestation of consciousness. Gita says in verse number 19, chapter number 7, Sarvam Vasudevam Sarvam iti. Vasudevam Sarvam iti. Vasudevam Sarvam iti. And what is the meaning of Vasudevam Sarvam iti? আৰু হেতু কোনে গম পাই বুলি কৈছে যে বহু জন্মৰ পিছতহে মানুহে অনুভৱ কৰিব পাৰে কৈছে it is after many births that the man of knowledge attains to me. বহু জন্মৰ পিছতহে মানুহে মোক লাভ কৰে আৰু কোনবোৰ মানুহে মোক লাভ কৰে আৰু তাৰ ভিতৰতো কৈছে এনেকুৱা মানুহ খুব বিৰল কৈছে so very rare is the great soul to be found who sees that Vasudeva, the immanent divine, is all that is. Vasudevam Sarvam iti. Vasudevam Sarvam iti. Vasudeva Sarvam iti. So Mahatma Sudurlabha. কৈছে তেনেধৰণে ভাবা মহাত্মাটো অতি কম আৰু তাৰ আগত তাৰ আগত উপনিষদে কৈছে সৰ্বং খলবিদং ব্ৰহ্মণ, all is Brahman. We are also manifestation of Brahman. We are also manifestation of consciousness. Everything. Sri Krishna was manifestation of consciousness. So we are. There is only between Sri Krishna and me. There is only difference of gradation. Essentially, we are same. Humanity and humanity and Sri Krishna are essentially same. Why? Because Gita itself speaks about man as the my portion eternal. Sri Krishna has spoken about man as portion eternal. Mama eva angsha sanatana. We are angsha only. He is the fullest expression, fullest manifestation. We are partial manifestation of the consciousness. And Vibhuti are higher manifestation. So there are three kinds of manifestation. One is avatara, the fullest manifestation. Even within avatar, there are avatars of different grades. Next manifestation is the Vibhuti, the special power of divine. Arjuna was Vibhuti, Sri Krishna was Avatara. Vivekananda was Vibhuti, Ramakrishna was Avatara. And what are we? We are Dehi, embodied soul. So there is only difference between gradation. We are all manifestation of consciousness. Not only are we, whole manifestation, whole universe is the manifestation of consciousness. Whole. Your poetry, your democracy, river, all are manifestation of consciousness. Your democracy, your war, your poetry, your literature, your nationalism, your universalism, your art, your hill, your river, your movement, your mind, your vital, your body, anything of this universe is nothing but manifestation of universe. That is why it is called Advaitavad. There is only one element, one substance in this whole world. There is only one substance. One is becoming many. This is becoming. This is not creation. So this is the second fundamental idea of Indian psychology, or a fundamental views of Sri Aurobindo as well. So the all of the universe is a manifestation of consciousness which has been evolving from the nethermost level. From the nethermost level. What is the meaning of nethermost? Bhugarbhastha. That nethermost level has been called as inconscient nischetana. Nischetana. Hebhabe moi koisilu je now I am speaking about 4 elements. Sometimes I can speak as 5 elements. Sometimes 3 elements, because superconscious is taken separately. So what is inconscious? Then now we have come across surface or outer being, subconscious, subliminal, superconscious, and the inconscious. Inconscious, what is inconscious? It will be discussed. So inconscious is the nethermost level. From that nethermost level, everything is being evolved. Everything is beyond. Everything is being evolved towards the highest level of the superconscious. So whole journey of whole universe is a journey of consciousness from inconscious to superconscious. Inconscious, subconscious, subliminal, surface consciousness, and the superconscious. So this is the second idea. The whole universe is the manifestation, not creation, not created. Universe has not been created. Has not been created by anybody. Universe is a manifestation, self-expression of consciousness, and which has been evolving from the nethermost level. Nethermost, that is to say inconscious, nischetana. So this is the second fundamental concept. And then, so thus the emergence and growth of consciousness is the central motive of the evolution. This is just the corollary. So what is the motive of this universe? It is the growth of consciousness, according to Sri Aurobindo. No other objective. Growth of consciousness, evolution of consciousness, from the nethermost level to the superconscient level. And man is one of the conscious instruments for evolving those consciousness. So thus the emergence and growth of consciousness is the central motive of the evolution and the key to its secret purpose. So Jagotor jodi gopon rahasya ki boli kobo pare? Evolution of consciousness. Ami pishor phale jeta consciousness or alochona korim ei tattwobur ami lahe olop koi pai thakim. Aru tenhole third to, what is the third? Third fundamental view of Sri Aurobindo. So first one is man is part of the universal being. That is to say, man is the microcosm and the universe is the macrocosm. And both are intimately related. Second one is whole universe is the manifestation of consciousness. What is, after all, manifestation of consciousness? It is nothing but growth of consciousness or evolution of consciousness. Let me answer one question. Can something be evolved out of nothing? আজি এই যে আমি পৃথিৱীত জৰৰ পিছত আমি কি ইয়াত বিৱৰ্তিত হৈছিল? উদ্ভিদ বিৱৰ্তিত হৈছিল। উদ্ভিদ বিৱৰ্তিত হোৱা মানে উদ্ভিদৰ মাজত প্ৰাণ আছিল, আমাক জগদীশ বসুৱে কৈ গৈছে। উদ্ভিদৰ পিছত আমি কি বিৱৰ্তিত হৈছে ইয়াত? এনিমেল। এনিমেলৰ পিছত কি বিৱৰ্তিত হৈছে? মেন। ডাৰউইনে আমাক ইমানখিনি কথাই জনাইছে। কৈছে যে Darwin was basically concerned with the evolution of forms. কিন্তু এই যে ইভলিউশন হৈছে তাৰ ৰহস্যটো কি? যে মেটাৰৰ পিছত ইয়াত ইভলভ হৈছে প্ল্যান্টৰ পিছত ইভলভ হৈছে এনিমেলৰ পিছত ইভলভ হৈছে মাইন্ড। ৰহস্যটো কি? আমি যদি ৰহস্যটো যদি অলপ যদি লক্ষ্য কৰো কি দেখা পাম? প্ৰত্যেকটোৱে হায়াৰ কনসিয়াসনেস। Plant is higher than matter, animal is higher than plant, and man is higher than animal. তেনেহলে মোৰ এটা প্ৰশ্ন, যদি মেটাৰৰ মাজত লাইফ যেটো প্ৰিন্সিপল যদি ইনভলভড হৈ নাছিল, অৰ্থাৎ যদি তাৰ মাজত আগৰ পৰাই যদি মেটাৰৰ মাজত যদি লাইফ নামৰ তত্ত্বটো যদি অন্তৰ্নিহিত হৈ যদি থকা নাই, সোমাই যদি থকা নাই, how it can be evolved? আকৌ লাইফৰ পিছত আমি কি ইভলিউশন হোৱা দেখা পাইছো? মাইন্ড ইভলিউশন হোৱা দেখা পাইছো। তেনেহলে মাইন্ড মাস্ট বি সিক্ৰেটলি ইনভলভ ইন দি লাইফ। লাইফৰ মাজত মন নামৰ তত্ত্বটো আছিল, নহলে শূন্যৰ পৰাটো কিবা বস্তু বিৱৰ্তিত হ'ব নোৱাৰে। তেনেহলে এতিয়া শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দৰ প্ৰশ্ন হ'ল, মনৰ মাজত কি মনতকৈ উচ্চতৰ তত্ত্ব ইনভলভ হৈ আছে? তাৰ মানে ইভলিউশন হ'ব লাগিলে তাৰ এটা ৰিভাৰ্স প্ৰসেস আগতে হ'ব লাগিব। আৰু এই ৰিভাৰ্স প্ৰসেসটোৰ নাম দিছে শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দই কি? ইনভলিউশন বুলি কৈছে। ইনভলিউশন শব্দটো কি? ঠিক ইভলিউশনৰ লগত কানেক্টেড। কৈছে the term involution has various meanings. In some instances it refers to a process. Prior to evolution which gives rise to the cosmos. In others it is an aspect of evolution, and in still others it is a process that follows the completion of evolution in the human form. কিন্তু শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দৰ ইভলিউশনটোক যদি আমি এসেন্ট বুলি ধৰো তেনেহলে ইনভলিউশন ডিসেন্ট অবতরণ তেনেহলে কৈছে thirdly the evolution of consciousness is preceded by its involution তার মানে ইনভলিউশন মানে ডিসেন্ট এই যে লাইফ কনসিয়াসনেস whatever is being evolved from matter এই সকলোবোৰ তাত সোমাই থাকিব লাগিব মই ইয়াত শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দৰ একেবাৰে তেওঁৰ মেটাফিজিক্যাল মানে যেটো ম্যাগনাম ওপাস লাইফ ডিভাইনৰ মই প্ৰথম চেপ্টাৰৰ মাত্ৰ দুটা লাইন লেট মি কোট শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দই কৈছে we speak of the evolution of life in matter the evolution of mind in matter but evolution is a word which merely states the phenomenon without explaining it আমি অকল যদি বিবৰ্তন বুলি কওঁ তাৰ মাজত কোনো ব্যাখ্যা বিচাৰি নাপাওঁ আমাক ডারউইনে এইবোৰ কথা কোৱা নাই ডারউইনৰ যেটো ইভলিউশনাৰী থিওৰি লাইফ কিয় কেনেকে লাইফ উদ্ভৱ হ'ল লাইফৰ পিছত মাইন্ড কেনেকে ইনভলভ হ'ল শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দই লিখিছে for there seems to be no reason why life should evolve out of material elements or mind out of living form unless we accept the Vedantic solution আমি একো কথা কব নোৱাৰো আমি Vedantic solution এটা মানি লব লাগিব what is that Vedantic solution unless we accept the Vedantic solution that life is already involved in matter life is already involved in matter life is already involved in matter and mind in life because in essence matter is a form of veiled life a form of veiled consciousness so everything is concealed in inconscient in the nethermost level you can call that is the storehouse আৰু আমি সেই বিষয়ে যেটা ডিটেইল আপোনালোকে অধ্যয়ন কৰিব আমাক ইয়াৰ ইমানখিনিৰ বাবে ইমানখিনিৰ প্ৰয়োজন যে evolution of consciousness is preceded by its involution so therefore the inconscient what is inconscient and evolution begins from nethermost level so therefore the inconscient is a concealed consciousness inconscientor মাজতেই লাইফ মাইন্ড সকলোবোৰ কনসিলড হৈ আছে আৰু আমি কৈছে যে এই যে আমি ইউনিভার্সক ম্যানিফেস্টেশন অফ কনসিয়াসনেস বুলি কৈছো has been evolving from the nethermost level and what is that nethermost level inconscient is the nethermost level so inconscient is the concealed consciousness life is a consciousness mind is a consciousness these things will be taken up but mind is greater than higher than life is higher than matter so therefore the inconscient is a concealed consciousness and an inverse reproduction of the supreme superconscience inverse reproduction গতিকে ইয়াত শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দৰ যেটো মূল বিবৰ্তনৰ তত্ত্বৰ কৈছে যে evolution is not possible without involution so evolution is ascent before ascent descent took place so another let me quote from a book written by S.K. Moitra the evolution reproduces in the reverse order the process of the descent of the spirit in involution the order of involution as sketched by Sri Aurobindo is as follows existence consciousness force bliss supermind mind psyche life matter গতিকে এই যে আমি ওপৰৰ সেই তত্ত্ববোৰ পিছত আলোচনা কৰিম তললৈকে বস্তুবোৰ ডিসেন্ট হৈছে আগতেই because without that descent ascent is not possible without involution evolution is not possible because something cannot be evolved out of nothing যদি আগতেই ম্যাটাৰৰ মাজত এই তত্ত্ববোৰ নাই না যদি নাথাকিল হেতেন এইবোৰ কেনেকে বিবৰ্তিত হ'ল হেতেন আমাক ডারউইনে সেইবোৰ ক'ব পৰা নাই একোবা ক'বলৈ যত্ন কৰা নাই সেইবাবে শ্ৰী অৰবিন্দই কৈছে it is the evolution of consciousness but Darwin was concerned with evolution of forms only and he has not explained. গতিকে আমি বেদান্তিক সলিউশন মানি নললে উপায় নাই। গতিকে এই তিনিটা বেসিক আইডিয়া। ফার্স্ট ইজ মাইন্ড ইজ man is part of the universal being. Man is not separated from the world. And what is man? Man is microcosm. Manuhei hol khudro jagat. Our universe is the macrocosm. Brahmanda, khudro Brahmanda. Then what is Brahmanda? What is universe? Universe is the manifestation. Manifestation of what? Manifestation of consciousness. And manifestation means evolution. Evolution of consciousness. Evolution of consciousness from what? Evolution of consciousness from nethermost level, from the bhugarbhastha level. And that level is called inconscient. This is the second theory, second view, fundamental view. And the third is if evolution of consciousness is the secret of this universe, then evolution is not possible without involution. And involution is prior descent of all these elements, all this substance into the matter. Prior descent, before ascent, before evolution. And it is called involution. So these three things have to be noted. যেতিয়া ভাৰতবৰ্ষৰ ঋষিয়ে বহুধৈৱ কুটুম্বকম বুলি কৈছে সমগ্ৰ জগত, এয়া আদৰ্শবাদিতা নহয়. This is not ideal. This is truth. We are all interconnected. And I am the Brahman. I am the universe. I am the Brahmanda. আৰু মোৰ ভিতৰত যিবোৰ শক্তি আছে আৰু সমগ্ৰ বিশ্ব ব্ৰহ্মাণ্ডত যিটো শক্তি আছে, these are essentially identical. So এইখিনিৰ পৰা তেনেহলে আমি এটা সিদ্ধান্তত উপনীত হ'ব পাৰো। কি সিদ্ধান্তত উপনীত হ'ব পাৰো? যে nothing is truly unconscious according to Sri Aurobindo. Though Freud has spoken about unconscious, even Jung has spoken about unconscious. So according to Indian psychology, according to Indian spirituality, nothing is really unconscious. Nothing is really unconscious. So implicit in this fundamental proposition, because whole universe is the manifestation of consciousness. So the question of unconsciousness does not arise. So the implicit in this fundamental proposition is the view that nothing is truly unconscious. Nothing is truly unconscious or totally devoid of consciousness. So this is the ultimately Siddhanta. Nothing is unconscious. So the whole concept of unconscious as conceived by Western psychology has been devastated. There is nothing like unconscious. It is all consciousness. No unconscious. Nothing like unconscious exists, because whole universe is the manifestation of consciousness, from the nethermost level to the superconscient level. So therefore the unconscious spoken of in psychology, that is to say in modern psychology, is a misnomer. Is a misnomer. তার কোনো নাম নাই, কোনো একটা নিরর্থক কথা, তার কোনো নাম দিব নোৱাৰি unconscious বুলি. It's a misnomer. Therefore the unconscious spoken of in psychology is a misnomer. What is called the unconscious is simply that which lies outside the surface conscious awareness. What they have interpreted as unconscious, it is actually consciousness. It is not unconscious. It is conscious. But it lies outside the surface conscious awareness only. But they are not unconscious. They are consciousness. Simply they lie outside the surface conscious awareness, and of which mind in its ordinary state, is not conscious. আৰু এই যিটো that portion যিটো western psychology unconscious বুলি কৈছে, this is conscious, but only thing is mind is not conscious about that conscious range. It is inaccessible to mind, but nevertheless it is not unconscious, because whole manifestation, whole universe is the manifestation of. And what is the secret of this universe? It is the evolution of consciousness. And evolution is possible. Evolution is not possible without involution. Ascent is not possible without descent. Descent of all these elements into the matter. So that nethermost level is called inconscient. So these five ranges or 5 components will be taken up in due course. So these three important fundamental views of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, these 4 or 5 components of man's being, and the fundamental limitation of modern psychology. And lastly, there is nothing like unconscious. Nothing is truly unconscious. Let us take up consciousness. What is consciousness? I have to discuss many quotations of Sri Aurobindo, because in one of his quotes, Maharishi says in one of his reply to one of his disciple, Maharishi says, you seem to want to reduce everything to a catalog. অর্থাৎ হয়তো খুদিছে যে কনসিয়াসনেছৰ এলিমেন্ট কি আছে একেবাৰে তালিকাভুক্ত কৰি দিয়ক, হোৱাট ইজ হাউ কনসিয়াসনেছ is composed of, how consciousness is consisting of, what is consciousness. So Sri Aurobindo replied that you seem to want to reduce everything to a catalog and a scientific analysis. Then he says, nobody has ever been able to do that. So consciousness cannot be explained in that way. So nobody has ever been able to do that with the working of the consciousness. So working of consciousness cannot be explained in a purely scientific manner, because science is concerned about objectivity. Consciousness is a subjective principle. Science is not concerned with the whole truth, whole reality. Science is one-sided. Science is concerned about objectivity. Science is never concerned with subjectivity. But subjectivity is a truth. Subjectivity is also a reality. 2 sides of truth. One is objectivity, one is subjectivity. So you seem to want to reduce everything to a catalog and a scientific analysis. Nobody has ever been able to do that with the working of the consciousness. The elements of a condition of consciousness cannot be classified. Maharishi says, the elements of a condition of consciousness. So elements of condition of consciousness cannot be classified like the elements of matter, like electron, proton, etc. Atom, proton, neutron, etc. cannot be classified like matter. Yet Maharishi has explained. We will be taking up in due course. Though Maharishi says that elements of condition of consciousness cannot be classified like the elements of matter, yet he has explained the elements of consciousness. But it may not satisfy the scientific mindset, because science is concerned only with objectivity, not with subjectivity. So because of this truth behind consciousness, behind elements of consciousness, we have to discuss, we have to explain many quotes, many description of consciousness. It cannot be explained cannot be explained methodically, through scientific method. So we have to discuss many quotes, and in every quotes you will find something new regarding consciousness. First, let us take up the first quote about consciousness. I will be taking up only this quote today, but this is not the all. I will be taking up many quotes of consciousness. So in this quote, Maharishi says, consciousness, what is consciousness? A fundamental thing. A fundamental thing in existence. So consciousness, a fundamental thing, the fundamental thing in existence. Rather, you can call this is the only fundamental thing in existence, consciousness. Everything else is its manifestation. Everything else is its manifestation. Consciousness is the fundamental thing. So consciousness is a fundamental thing, the fundamental thing in existence. What it is? Sri Aurobindo says, it is the energy. It is the energy. The movement of consciousness. Three things spoken about. It is fundamental thing, number one. Then that is to say, it is the energy. It is the energy. So some specific energy has been pointed. So it is the energy. It is the motion. It is the movement of consciousness. So consciousness and the movement of consciousness. So it is the energy, it is the motion, the movement of consciousness that creates the universe. So if you want to call somebody or something as the creator, you can call consciousness as the creator of this universe. Because everything is its manifestation. So that creates the universe and all that is in it. All that is means all means all. All means all. So consciousness is the fundamental thing. And what is that fundamental thing? It is being explained now as the energy, the motion, the movement of consciousness. Then it has been further explained. Not only the macrocosm. So somebody may misunderstand that the only here, as if Sri Aurobindo might have been speaking only about the universe. Then Sri Aurobindo says, no, not only macrocosm, but the microcosm is nothing but consciousness arranging itself. Whole microcosm means we are everything. So this is the first idea about consciousness. Consciousness is a fundamental thing. Consciousness is the fundamental thing in existence. You can say is a fundamental thing, or you can write is the fundamental thing in universe. It is the energy. It is the motion. It is the movement of consciousness that creates the universe. Not only universe, it creates all that is in it. Whatever is here, everything has been created by consciousness. So Maharishi says not only the macrocosm, but the microcosm is nothing but consciousness arranging itself. How? In the next sentence, he has given some explanation. He says, for instance, when consciousness in its movement, or rather a certain stress of movement, which is etia tar gotir majot, gotit, ba eta gotir uporot thaka stress buli koise, which is rather a certain stress of movement, forget itself in the action. Orthat kriyar majot jetia চেতনাই পাহৰি যায়, নিজকে পাহৰি যায় কনসিয়াসনেসে, নিজক যেতিয়া পাহৰি যায় in its movement, then what it becomes? So first, consciousness has to forget itself. In what? In the action. And when consciousness in its movement, or rather a certain stress of movement. So when consciousness forgets itself in its movement or in a certain stress of movement in the action, then what it becomes? Then it becomes an apparently unconscious energy. Apparently unconscious energy. So this is the first thing. Consciousness forgetting itself. In what? In action. In its movement or in certain stress of movement. And when it forget itself in the form means matter. One is action and one is matter. When it forgets in the action, then consciousness becomes the unconscious energy. And when it forgets itself in the form means, that is to say, in the matter, then it becomes the electron, the atom, and the material objects. So how matter has come into existence? When consciousness forgets itself in form, then it becomes the electron, then it becomes the atom, the material object. And when it forgets in the action, then it becomes the unconscious energy. By forgetting itself in the form, it becomes electron, atom, and material object. By forgetting itself in the action, it becomes unconscious energy. It may forget itself, but it is still consciousness that works in the energy. So it may forget itself in the action and it may become unconscious energy. Still, in reality, it is still consciousness that works in the energy and determines the form and evolution of form. So you can call that is the process of descent, that is the process of involution. So consciousness forgetting itself in the form and becoming electron, atom, and material object. So there are two things. One is energy and one is matter. How energy has come into existence? When consciousness forgets itself in the action, then it becomes unconscious energy. And when it forgets in the form, then it becomes electron, atom, and the material object. But still, it is still consciousness. Even after forgetting itself, it is still consciousness that works in the energy and determines the form and evolution of form. You may call this is the process of how descent was taking place prior to ascent. How involution. What is the process of involution? Consciousness forgetting itself in the action and in the form. When it forgets in the form, it becomes material object, it becomes atom, it becomes electron. And when it forgets itself in the action, it becomes unconscious energy. So this is the involution. But what is evolution? Evolution is the process of liberation. Because consciousness is forgetting itself in the form and becoming matter, becoming energy. Now consciousness wants to liberate itself. নিজক মুক্ত কৰিব বিচাৰিছে কৰ পৰা? এই ফৰ্মৰ মাজৰ পৰা। matter major pura. When it wants to liberate itself slowly, evolutionarily out of matter, but still in the form, it will evolve out of the matter, but still it will also remain in the form. It is not that after evolution, there will be no consciousness in the matter. So when it wants to liberate itself, slowly, evolutionarily out of matter, it emerges as life. It emerges as animal. It emerges as man. And it can go on evolving itself. To what level? There is no limit. Mind is not the last point of evolution. So, and it can go on evolving itself still further out of its involution and become something more than mere man. So man is not the last form of the evolution, last point of evolution. Man is only a transitional being. Man is not final. As animal was not final, as plant was not final, as matter was not final, likewise, man is also not final. Man is only a transitional being. Manu kebol madhya parbor hotta. Manu kebol madhya parbor hotta. Manu kebol madhya parbor hotta. গতিকে মই অলপমান যেটো আপোনালোকক একেবাৰে মই ইমান আমি বুজিবৰ দৰকাৰ নাই হাউ কনসিয়াসনেস হ্যাজ ম্যানিফেস্টেড ইটসেলফ ম্যানিফেস্ট কৰাৰ আগত অভিব্যক্ত কৰাৰ আগত হি মেটাৰৰ মাজত ফৰ্মৰ মাজত নিজে বিস্মৃত হৈছে ফৰ্মৰ মাজত আৰু ফৰ্মৰ মাজত বিস্মৃত হোৱাৰ লগে লগে হেয়া হৈছে বস্তু মেটাৰ আৰু ক্ৰিয়াৰ মাজত নিজক পাহৰি যায় তেতিয়া শক্তিলৈ ৰূপান্তৰিত হয় গতিকে শক্তি আৰু মেটাৰ এই দুটাইটো আমাৰ আসল ফান্ডামেন্টাল বস্তু তেনেহলে তাৰ সোর্স কি কনসিয়াসনেস ইজ দি সোর্স কনসিয়াসনেস ইজ দি সোর্স গতিকে ইয়াত কবলৈ গলে এটা ইনভলিউশনৰ কথা কৈছে এটা ইভলিউশনৰ কথা কৈছে কাৰণ মেটাৰৰ মাজত ফৰগেট হৈ আছে এতিয়া লিবাৰেট হবৰ বাবে বিচাৰিছে আৰু এতিয়ালৈকে কি কি ইট ইমাৰ্জেস এজ লাইফ এজ এনিমেল এজ ম্যান আকৌ আমি এই যে এজ লাইফ আকৌ এনিমেল বুলি নকয় আমি তাক ভাইব্ৰেশন বুলিও ক'ব পাৰো ম্যান বুলি নকয় আমি তাক মাইন্ড বুলিও ক'ব পাৰো মাইন্ড ইজ এ কনসিয়াসনেস ইভেন লাইফ ইজ অলসো এ কনসিয়াসনেস these are submental ranges of consciousness there are ranges above mind there are ranges below mind all will be taken up everything will be taken up because we have to know the whole if we want to know the part. So this is the secret of universe. So this ei ami buniyadi kothapur jetialeke najani orthat jogotot ei je jibonor khela hoise jibonor khela jibon ইয়াত অভিব্যক্ত হৈছে চেতনা অভিব্যক্ত হৈছে ইভিন মেটাৰ অভিব্যক্ত হৈছে আমি জড় দেখা পাইছো মেটাৰ কেনেকে মেটাৰ আহিল কৈছে কনসিয়াসনেস when consciousness forget itself in the form কাৰণ pure form বুলি কৈছে essentially consciousness is formless চেতনা অৰূপ বস্তু তাৰ কোনো ৰূপ নাই কিন্তু যেতিয়া ৰূপৰ মাজত হি বিস্মৃত হৈ যায় তেতিয়া হি ইলেক্ট্ৰনলৈ ৰূপান্তৰিত হয় তেতিয়া এটমলৈ ৰূপান্তৰিত হয় তেতিয়া মেটেৰিয়েল অবজেক্টলৈ ৰূপান্তৰিত আৰু যেতিয়া ক্ৰিয়াৰ মাজত নিজকে যে নিজে যেতিয়া বিস্মৃত হৈ যায় তেতিয়া হি আনকনসিয়াস এনাৰ্জিলৈ ৰূপান্তৰিত হয় এয়া হল প্ৰসেস অফ ইনভলিউশন প্ৰসেস অফ ডিসেন্ট কেনেকে এই যে নেডাৰমোস্ট লেভেল অৰ্থাৎ ইনকনসাইন্টৰ মাজত আহি কেনেকে কনসিল্ড হৈছে and now it is being evolved. Evolve means now consciousness wants to liberate itself out of matter, but slowly, evolutionarily. So with this, let me conclude here. So, and then next we shall be in the next session, I shall be taking up consciousness as a reality inherent in existence. Then consciousness not only power of awareness, it is something else. It is something more than power of awareness. Then consciousness, usually, what is our normal conception? Normally consciousness is identified with mind. That will be taken up. Then consciousness not a phenomenon dependent on the reaction of personality, then what is the ordinary view of consciousness? So lots of aspects relating to consciousness will be taken up progressively. So with this, let me conclude here. If you want to interact anything, we can interact for a few minutes, though we are already 5 minutes late. Thank you and namaskar to all. And if you do not want to interact, then we can, আমি লাহে লাহে যেতিয়া আমি যদি বক্তৃতাবোৰ আমি যদি মিছ নকৰোঁ, তেনেহ'লে কথাবোৰ আচলতে যদি আমি টান বুলি ভাবোঁ তেনেহ'লে টান হ'ব, আৰু যদি একেবাৰে সহজ বুলি যদি ভাবি লওঁ তেতিয়া সহজ হ'ব। কাৰণ আমাৰ মূল কথা হ'ল কি, আমি আমাৰ জীৱনটোক ইমান সীমাবদ্ধ কৰি ৰাখিছোঁ যে আমি অকল আহাৰ, নিদ্ৰা, মৈথুন, অন্ন, বস্ত্ৰ, বাসস্থান, ৰাজনীতি, অৰ্থনীতি, গ্ৰোথ, কেপিটেল, আমি এইবিলাকৰ বাহিৰে আৰু বেলেগ কথা চিন্তা কৰাৰ বাবে আমাক আচলতে কি উন্নতি হৈছে আমি নাজানো। আমাৰ চিন্তা শক্তি আমি হেৰুৱাই পেলাইছোঁ। গতিকে আপোনালোকে যদি মিছ নকৰে, আমি লাহে লাহে এই যিবোৰ কথা আপোনালোকৰ বাবে সহজ হৈ যাব। So organizer, we can conclude. I think nobody is interested to interact. Yes.
Yes, sir. It is an honor to have the opportunity to express my appreciation to all the dignitaries present here. I am grateful to the esteemed delegates of the webinar for their presence and efforts in making today's session a success. I extend my sincere thanks to our honored resource person, Shri Diganta Biswa Sarma, sir, for your words of inspiration and encouragement. Your words are greatly appreciated. My gratitude also goes to the director, Dr. Sangeeta Borthakur ma'am, coordinator, Dr. Jyoti Das ma'am, joint coordinator, Dr. Pooja Chetri ma'am, and to the technical team members of the Capacity Building Center of Cotton University. Lastly, thanks to everyone who attended today's session and would like to hope for such further sessions future. Thank you and good night.
Thank you and good night to all.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.